Okay, shalom, shalom. Kwame Sha'Allah, Koholoyimla Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakaha Wadash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, that by the Spirit taught us this beautiful truth. Just want to say the water to all the H.I.M and Akhwaf that's out here sincerely keeping the laws, the statutes and commandments of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai to the best of their ability. This is Yah Hanan Nawach. Just coming at you with another quick lesson, praying that it's edifying by the Spirit. And it was an article that I was just reading that made me think of the plague of darkness that was over Egypt, because we just had these storms here in our region. I know it's throughout the Midwest. Not sure what all states. I'm sure it's plenty of power lines that went down and power is out in a lot of different places. So power has been out here in certain areas for the past 3 days, just the day before the 4th of July. So the Lord hit these Egyptians, which we call this place, because this is spiritually Egypt. But the Lord hit these Egyptians, with the perfect plague for their 250th anniversary. So the article that I was reading right here, it's pretty much is going up into, with some good information as far as if your power is out and you have food in the refrigerator, which a lot of people, they're going to have to throw out a lot of food. What you're going to hear about is a lot of people getting sick from eating that shit, you know what I'm saying, when they should have thrown it out. Because people don't really be knowing, really what to do, or, how to, because our people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. They don't really read. They don't check into stuff, Some people know. You might smell something and be like, nah, that's not good. But, it's going to be a lot of food thrown on. It's going to be a lot of money wasted. Just like you went out and wasted all that money to get your pork ribs. You got shrimp kebab on the damn grill. You got pig feet in the fucking greens. You made all this, you got lobster in the mac and cheese. So the Lord pretty much is going to make you eat until you have to throw that shit up that you did cook. In the meanwhile, all the rest of your food is going bad. And now you're going to have to try and replace all that shit. So you're going to be out even more hundreds of dollars of waste when it comes to, what I'm saying, the food that has to be thrown out. People waste, when those storms go down like this, your freezer, if you don't open which they're going to go into in the article, it says power still out. Here's how to tell if food in the refrigerator is safe, right? So it's a good article for people that may not know no better, but you do have people, motherfuckers don't watch the news. They don't care. They go right off in there and they're trying to save and salvage everything because food is expensive. You don't want to throw anything out right now. So pretty much if the Lord knocks your power out and your food go bad, that's judgment, man. That's like a plague on your ass. But a lot of these they went out, they spent all their money on this 4th of July shit when you shouldn't have, because it's an idolatrous holiday, or it's a murderous holiday of your own people. You're actually celebrating your captivity, your oppression. And so the Lord, like, all right, well, I'm going to make you eat that 4th of July food. And that's going to be all that your ass is going to eat for a moment. Now, saying all that to say this, I was riding my bike yesterday, and it was kind of like nighttime at that point, because it was the Shabbat. Shabbat had ended, so the sun had already gone down. But, I kind of try and get an evening bike ride in. So I'm riding my bike, and I'm coming up my block. Now, just on the other side of the street on my block, no one has power. Mind you, I got a power line out in the back of my house. The power line actually fell directly by my truck. And I had to, I was kind of scared, but, by the spirit and power of Yahweh, by Shem Yahushai, I was able to move my truck because the shit was on fire and my truck was right next to it, which was, it was the spirit. I just prayed. I was just going to leave the shit, but I'm thinking like, damn, that shit right by the damn gas tank. That shit going to blow the damn truck up. It's going to catch the damn garage on fire. It's going to do this, and this. So the Lord made the rain pick up. The rain picked up, and it actually put the fire out on the power line. So it was still smoking because it was just that damn hot. But I was able to get into my, I had some grounded shoes on, so to speak, But I was able to get into my truck and go ahead and pull it away and move it. And then right after I done that, it stopped raining. and the damn power line started back sparking and getting back on fire. So, I was just like, I was just praising Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Now, mind you, I got a power line out in the back of my house that's been down for the past couple of days. The power company came through yesterday. They was, assessing everything and, knocking on all the doors and stuff like that. And they was, pretty much cornering it off with the yellow tape. Letting people know, all right, you got a power line down, this, and this, don't go and near it and all that other good stuff. But I got a power line out in the back of my house. Now, my internet went out, but I just noticed that the internet was back on yesterday. I'm like, yeah, the internet I was already preparing. The internet going to be out for about a week before they get out here because they got to cut trees. There was a tree that fell on the power line. They got to cut trees. They got to come through. They got to do all this. And I'm just expecting like, all right, the internet will be out for about a week or so. You know what I'm saying? And I wasn't tripping on it. I just come outside, use my regular phone, you know what I'm saying, and do videos, and that's that. Because I don't really get that good of a signal inside. You know how phones are, with these services. It's horrible if you don't have internet. But anyway, saying all that, with that power line being out in the back of my house, I still got power. And my internet came back on. But the people across the street, the whole block is out. That whole shit is midnight. Like, for real. And I was like, dang, all right, well, all praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. But it did kind of remind me of, what I just went into. Let's just go back to this real quick and read the plague of Egypt at that particular time. That plague of darkness. Matter of fact, it goes off into, I think it's in Psalms. It might be chapter 75. Where it goes a little bit more into apparitions. I think they were seeing apparitions. I'm going to have to see real quick. But let me just read through this real fast. It says, the plague of darkness over Egypt is detailed in Exodus 10:21 through 23. This is the ninth of the 10 plagues described in the Bible. So, and we're pretty much there, man, because the end of this age is coming. That's the reason why we tell our people, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, to repent to the Father Yahweh in the name of his son Yahushai, because we are at a point of the end of an age. That's going into let's get Matthew 24:3. I'm gonna read it in the Amplified because it actually kind of reads it that way. It says the end of a consummation. You're at the end. Esau's the end of the world. 2nd Ezra 6:9. It says Esau, which is the biblical name for the so-called white man, is the end of the world, and Jacob, which is the biblical name for the so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, they are the beginning of the world that follows. So you're watching the end of an age right now. So let me just go into this real quick. Salakia. Matthew 24:3. Matthew 24:3 in the Amplified, the AMP, it says, why Yahushua, and we call on the true names of the Father and Son. If you ever listen to these videos, we translate we just call on the true names of the Father and Son, because we understand that the names that have been called on, or the names that have been given to the public, or, throughout centuries, those are not the correct names. The Father's name is not Jehovah. The Son's name is not Jesus, because there was no letter J 2,000 years ago. The letter J was invented in 1524 by a grammarian named Giorgio Trissino. You can look that up. That's a simple Google search. It'll give you the whole information as to when the letter J came about, why it was created, how it was moved and became a part of the alphabet as it is today. But 2,000 years ago, there was no letter J, so no one was calling on Jehovah or Jesus. So we call them by the true names. The true name of the Father is Yahweh, which means he exists, or the existing one. Yah meaning he. Whenever you see Yah, means he. Because, names had a meaning in the Bible. Everyone's name, people wasn't just naming their names, their children, all these weird ass names. Shaquika and Deontay. And no. Our names had meaning. So when the name was called, it actually moved in the spirit. That was a name, man. Names mean something. So Yahweh, Yah meaning he, Hawa is going to exist, or the existing one. And the true name of his son is Yahushai. Yah meaning he, Yahushai is going into savior or deliverer. He will deliver, so the names of the men of the scriptures always meant something. All you have to do is just go into, all right, you see a name, you might see Daniel, or you might see Samuel, or you might see, the way that they're spelled today, in a kind of like an English form, but those names are actually Hebrew names, and those names actually mean something. So Yahweh, again, meaning he exists, and Yahweh Shai means he's the savior or deliverer. Those are the true names of the Father and Son. So I just wanted to explain that real quick. But let's get verse 3 here. Matthew 24:3 in the Amplified. While Yahweh Shai was seated on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately and said, "Tell us, when will this destruction of the temple take place, and what will be the sign of your coming, and the end, completion, consummation of the age? See, over here it says, and the end of the world. And a lot of people confuse that word world with, the entire globe, the entire planet. No, that word world is going into an age, a time period. And we're living in the time period of Esau, and this is spiritually Egypt. And what happened in Egypt before the Lord brought the children of Israel out of there? He plagued Egypt. That's what you're seeing going on in America, because America is spiritually Egypt. It's being plagued. Got all kinds of storms going on. You got on one side of the damn country, tornadoes and twists. Another side of the country, you got brush fires that's uncontainable, just burning hundreds of thousands of damn acres. You got floods going on in certain. So the Lord, he's plaguing this place, man, because of the children of Israel. Okay, but it says, the scripture recounts how God instructed Moses to stretch his hand towards the sky to bring a darkness that can be felt over the land. A thick total darkness covered Egypt for 3 days. Now, mind you, like I said, the power, that shit has been on for like 3 days. I've been seeing trucks. They all through the neighborhood. Trees all over. They got to cut a lot of trees. There's trees that's actually blocking streets. There's trees on top of houses. And it was a real dark, vague 4th of July. Because I rode my bike through the neighborhood. You had a few people, I guess they had already planned some shit that was still trying to get out there and keep it going. But it was sad, man. The mirth was not there. Right? So the Lord clipped them niggas' lights, man. So now you got to deal with all that food you got in the freezer. All that food you got in your refrigerator. So now what you're about to see is a bunch of goddamn flies. Sweet bees and fucking hornets and whatever else is attracted. A bunch of damn ants. You're about to get a plague of that shit when they start to throw all this food out, because you can't keep it in the house. That shit brings a stench. And then from there, now you got a whole bunch of fucking possums. You got a bunch of damn raccoons. Anything that's in it, because we got a lot of little animals in the neighborhood. You're going to get a plague of all that. Every time you open your damn door, a swarm of flies going to fly into your shit. Now you trying to deal with that, So the Lord is not playing no games with you jakes that don't want to listen, man. Okay, but it says, a thick total darkness covered Egypt for 3 days, stopping people from seeing one another and moving about. Notably, during these 3 days, the Israelites had light where they lived, see? So I've had lights. Matter of fact, I was real surprised. I was like, damn, my internet on? I'm looking at, how your little symbol pop up on your phone? I'm like, nah, this shit can't be, you know what I'm saying? I went and I grabbed another phone that I be using to do videos and stuff. I'm like, oh shit, this shit is on. Then because I went into it, because that particular phone, it don't have no service. I just normally use it with the internet. And my damn internet was on. Got lights. Watching, you know what I'm saying, videos and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Just, And again, I'm riding my bike up the street, just across the street. All the fucking houses' lights is out. I'm like, damn, it's dark as shit now through here. No street lights, no nothing. Soon as I pass over my little street, you know what I'm saying, we got lights. All praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, man. You know what I'm saying? So, I kind of seen that. And was just praising Yahweh, man. Bashim Yahushai, because, we... Hey, and I prayed for protection, but I also prayed for, I ain't gonna front, I prayed for something to happen the other day. I prayed, I think it was the July 2nd or 3rd or something like that. I was like, Lord, give them something. Bring something through for them. Give them, show them your power. Yahweh, take this place, out of power, And he actually done it. So all praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai for that, man. Okay, so they got all the other plagues in this particular hookup. But I want to say, let's do this real quick. Let's put in apparitions. I want to say, I think that is in, trying to think, is it in the Apocrypha? You know what, let me just go into it here. Exodus chapter 10. And generally, you can go into the blue letter and pull the precepts. Should maybe pop up in the precept area. Let's see here. So 21 through, it says, darkness over the land. Exodus 10 and 21. I'm going to read it in the Amplified. Then the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand towards the sky so that darkness, let's see what they got on that. One of the primary gods of the Egyptians was Ra, the sun god. See? The darkness revealed his uselessness and prevented the daily rituals of pagan worship. So the Lord was hiding them because they had all kinds of gods. So each one of their gods, the Lord showed that their God wasn't shit. and pretty much, America, they're into that sun god shit too, with their Sunday worship. Scriptures don't say nothing about worshiping on no damn Sunday, but they've made the Sunday, that day of the week, their religious day of the week, here in the Americas, man, which is spiritually Egypt. Okay, but it says, so that darkness may come over the land of Egypt, a darkness which is so awful that it may be felt. You can just feel it on you. Let me get that back again. Exodus 10 and 21. Then Yahweh said to Moses, stretch out your hand towards the sky so that darkness may come over the land of Egypt, a darkness which is so awful that it may be felt. So Moses stretched out his hand towards the sky, and for 3 days, a thick darkness was all over the land of Egypt. No sun, no moon, no stars. Now you got to realize, one of those damn street lights back then, it wasn't like I can call the energy company, oh, there's a power line out in the back. You couldn't even see with matches or lamps in this particular situation. It says the Egyptians could not see one another, nor did anyone leave his place for 3 days, but all the Israelites had supernatural light in their dwellings. Then Pharaoh called to Moses and said, go, serve the Lord. Only your flocks and your herds must be left behind. Even your children may go with you. But Moses said, you must also let us have sacrifices and burnt offerings so that we may sacrifice them to the Lord our God. Therefore, our livestock must also go with us. No one hoof shall be left behind. For we must take some of them to serve the Lord our God, even if we do not know with what we will serve the Lord until we arrive there. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he was not willing to let them go. So, that 10th plague had to come along. So, but see, you, Jake, and it doesn't say, I'm just speaking as a man. There could have been, I'm not sure. You know what I'm saying? Disobedient, hard-headed, stiff-necked ass Jake that probably lived amongst the Egyptians that experienced this. That experienced that darkness. I'm not sure, to what extent. Maybe I'm just speaking as a man, But, I guess, the Israelites had their own place because they really didn't deal with the Israelites like that. So maybe all Israelites, they experienced this supernatural light, But see, we're living in spiritual Egypt today, and Jake living like Egyptians. They're living like these so-called white people, man. They were out celebrating their own oppression. I know this lady across the street, I'm trying to think where she's from. I think she's Haitian though, but or what? But speaking with her and the way she talk, and the shit she was saying, because I remember one time she told me that she was real big into superstition and stuff like that, and I was like, nah, that ain't what I'm not in. She's a very attractive lady. You know what I'm saying? We was kind of like hitting it off here and there. I'm thinking like, nah, and then I'm just observing shit. Because she did invite me to her house one time, and I'm observing shit, and I'm like, nah, this bitch is into witchcraft. Just seeing shit around, the way she was doing shit, and just certain, I'm like, nah, I seen her damn lights was out. Her car was gone. I guess she had somewhere to go because she won, but at the same time, too, you got these refrigerators full of bullshit, full of, GMO foods. And you're going to have to throw all that shit out. You got a freezer full of fucking pork. You got a freezer full of pork sausages, pork links. Freezer full of crab legs. Freezer full of oysters. Freezer full of, abominable foods. And the Lord going to make you vomit that shit out, basically. Or throw that shit out. Let me see, though, what I wanted to get. I wanted to see. Let me try this one. Maybe it's this verse 23 with the cross reference. Let's see. Because I want to say it's in Psalms. It may not be, though, so I might be tripping. No, I'm not seeing anything on Psalms. It could be in the Apocrypha. Let's go back. Let's try this one. Yep, I think it might be Psalms 105 and 28. Let's see. It's 105, maybe. Yeah, that was the one. Let's go into this. I was thinking 75, but it was Psalms 105. Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit into this. But it's basically 28. I'm going to start at verse 26. It says, he sent Moses, his servant. Psalms 105 and 26. He sent Moses, his servant, and Aaron, whom he had chosen. They showed his signs among them and wonders in the land of Ham, which is Egypt. He sent darkness and made it dark, and they rebelled not against his word. See? He turned their waters into blood and slew their fish. Their land brought forth frogs in abundance in the chambers of their kings. He spake, and there came divers sorts of flies and lice in all their coasts. He gave them hail for rain. That was you had hail during the Donald Trump speech at Mount Rushmore. They had to get the fuck out of there. Oh, yeah, we need to go and find shelter. They were trying to play it off, right? So just wanted to just touch on this for a hot sec. I just found it interesting. But in this article, again, they do give some pretty advice. I mean, it's common sense stuff. Because really, there's nothing you can really do except for what you can. If you got some big enough coolers, you just got to go and buy a bunch of damn ice. And I seen a guy unloading a pallet of fucking ice yesterday. I'm like, damn, what the fuck you about to do with all that fucking ice? A big ass pallet. You see them, they be dropping off ice for those ice boxes, but they don't be having no whole damn pallet. I guess they go in and get what they need but whatever store it was, they ordered a lot of that shit. And it could have been for them. Because what I did notice too is, and another thing, you got to be careful, because I was just saying about a spirit yesterday. Be careful, with these little supermarkets that you shop from, because these other nations, they don't give a fuck about you, Jake. It was only one supermarket in the neighborhood that I noticed that had a generator, and they was running that it was a stupid ass generator though. It wasn't like your regular, generator that you pull out with the wheels on it. This shit was like a big fucking industrial, big ass. The shit was about the size of 4 SUVs. But they was running that generator to keep their meats and their freezers and stuff like that running in cold, and the freezers going, so the meats and all that shit, because they, that's a lot of product, what I'm saying, that they would lose if it were to go bad. But I noticed another supermarket. I seen the people outside, what I'm saying, but the doors was locked, so to speak, they were shut. I'm like, yeah, they probably in there, assessing what they gonna do with all that meat and shit. And that's one of the ones that I kind of go to. So now I'm like, Nah, I wouldn't go there now, you know what I'm saying? Because they don't care. They'll try and salvage that meat and fuck Jake up. You start to see shit in there, you know, got reduced on it, reduced price, and it's cheaper. You know what I'm saying? They would throw that shit to Jake at a cheap ass price. Jake come home and try and cook that shit and get fucked all up. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stay away from there. As far as like buying shit, you know what I'm saying? I give it a moment. on that end, I had to just, hit the local Walmarts and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? And or maybe that other one, you know what I'm saying, that did have the generator. Because I seen they had these big ass gas cans, and they had to, ain't no telling how much gas it took to run that shit, but it was like 10 big ass 5-gallon gas cans out there. So I guess they were just rotating them gas cans to keep that big motherfucker going. But so you have to watch these neighborhoods. Because, again, these heathen, they don't care what they serve you, Jake. They're not going to throw that stuff out. They're going to salvage as much as they can. They're going to sell that shit at reduced price. And they're going to get what they can out of it instead of just throwing that shit out. Because that's how they treat you, Jake, man. They don't give a fuck about you getting sick. They already got this fucking explosive diarrhea going on. Right? But anyway, they were just talking about how they was giving you, options on what you could do. And it was something that always, it's kind of always been a rule anyway. If you're not sure about it, throw that shit out. They say never taste the food to determine whether it's okay. If your power was out just for a few hours, you didn't open the refrigerator or freezer, chances are the food is good. So generally, when your power goes out, you leave your damn doors on your refrigerators closed so you can keep what cool air is in there. Because once you open it, heat starts to, and your shit starts to, your temperature starts to drop. So if you don't have to go in there, just leave that bitch closed. A refrigerator should be kept cold for 4 hours. And half full freezer, 24 hours. 48 hours if the freezer is full. If you don't open the doors according to the USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Service, you can transfer the food to a cooler with enough ice to keep the cooler at 40 degrees or below, adding more ice as needed. So that's pretty much all that you can do. If you got some coolers, then already know, they price gouging on a bag of damn ice. Seen plenty of people grabbing ice Sunday morning. If you know the power will be out for an extended period, get ice or dry ice to keep food cold. 50 pounds of dry ice, the Food and Drug Administration says, should hold an 18 cubic foot freezer for 2 days. Take care when handling dry ice. Yeah, that dry ice will fuck your ass up and take your goddamn limb off. Don't handle it with bare hands or place it directly on food. Use a refrigerator, freezer, thermometer, all that good stuff. Yeah, so you pretty much got up to 4 hours. If the power is off longer, transfer the food to coolers and fill it with ice or frozen gel packs. You need to make sure there's enough ice to keep the food in the cooler 40 degrees or below, replenishing the ice as it begins to melt. So that's the thing right there, that 40 below, because it says foods to toss. These are foods to get rid of. Bacteria can grow in these foods that have been above 40 degrees for 2 hours or more. Discard the following if your refrigerator has been without power for more than 4 hours. Raw, cooked, or leftover meat. Poultry, fish, soft cheeses, milk, yogurt, eggs, leftovers, hot dogs, bacon, lunch meats, all a bunch of saturated with a bunch of bullshit anyway. Pizza, shredded cheese, casseroles, pastas, pasta sauces, cut fruits and vegetables, mixed salads such as tuna, chicken, potato, and potato salad, and pasta salad, Slovakia, cream-based salad dressing, sauces and soups, open mayonnaise, tartar sauce, and horseradish if they were held above 50 degrees for more than 8 hours. Discard any foods like bread or salad greens that may have become contaminated by juices dripping from raw meat, poultry, or fish. Sour cream based or any dairy based dips, fruits and vegetables that have become slimy or spoiled. Toss out any food with unusual odor, color, or texture. Foods to keep. condiments such as ketchup, mustard, jelly, jam, soy sauce, bottled marinades. Typically, these have high salt and sugar content that can act as a preservative. Yeah, that's why a lot of that shit be fucking Jake up with them preservatives in it. Keep in mind that jams and jellies can grow mold after 3 or 4 days. Toss out ones that show signs of mold. Butter, margarine, hard and processed cheeses are typically fine. Foods that don't actually require refrigeration, like fresh herbs, spices, flour, and nuts, fresh bread and rolls, whole fruits, and vegetables that show no sign of decay. How to clean, they go off and all that. So I'm not going to get all up into that, but you get the point. So, if you are, one of, you went through a power outage, hey, there you go, man. You got the Lord giving you wisdom and some knowledge on what to toss and what to keep, you know what I'm saying, type of dilly, and, just praise Yahweh about H.I.M for this particular kind of information. So, because a lot of people going to get sick. Because a lot of these, they not going to know what to throw out. They're going to try and salvage shit that they actually need to go. But they're going to try and hold it down. They're going to try and keep it. Because, again, food is expensive as hell right now. Meats. You got a freezer full of meats. People out here. I think I heard one generator going on that side of the street last night. One generator. Maybe two. But I think it was only one, really. I was like, okay, somebody got a generator because they actually had lights. That was the only house on that block that had lights. If I was riding my bike through there and I'm looking like, damn, I didn't even know that side was out like that. I didn't even pay attention. But hey, it is what it is. But that was the side of the street where motherfuckers, because once they had a block party, they cut the street off. They put up cones and shit where you couldn't turn on their street. I was like, what kind of motherfuckers, what about the people that's actually within the block that don't want nothing to do with this shit? They can't even get their car out. Well, that's Jake, man. And they sitting there looking miserable. And then at the same time, too, you ain't had no choice but to really throw that shit on the grill. You might as well go ahead and cook up and eat, because that's going to be your last meal for a few days, unless you having damn Uber Eats come through for your ass. Anyway, let me end out there, man. Jake gonna learn. We are living in these last days. The Lord is not playing. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see the ambulance. If I see the ambulance pulling up on some of them houses to swoop some of them niggas up from food poisoning, man. So with that, pray that the lesson was edifying. Kwame Shala and a Baba Ball.